When the coronavirus pandemic hit, Katrina Otuonye was living in Seattle, Washington. But 6 months after the city shut down, she moved somewhere that confused some of her friends.
Alabama, really? Are you sure? I've been getting a little bit of that. I think for some people, there's a lot of misconceptions about the South and the people that live here.
Otuonye moved to the Shoals, a region in northwestern Alabama she'd never heard of until this year. That's because the Shoals doubled down on a program that has generated awareness for the area amid the pandemic. The region is offering up to $10,000 to qualified remote workers who relocate to the area. In June, the program opened up to 25 participants, up from 10 the year before. And it's one of several metropolitan areas in the U.S. paying remote workers to move. Now that remote work has taken off.
My rent is less than half of what it was before. My last apartment, I think, was about 500 square feet, and I think this one is 1,100.
In the Sheffield region of the Shoals, $10,000 is about enough for a 20% down payment on a 2 or 3 bedroom house.
And we have, more rural areas where you could go get a mini farm and have quite a few acres and have some horses and goats and all that kind of stuff. If that's what you're wanting, then we've got that too. So we've seen a lot of applications and a lot of people that have said, pre-pandemic, I wouldn't have even thought about this, but now I'm kind of thinking this may be the route that I wanted to go.
Cottle says so far, 14 remote workers have relocated to the Shoals from places including San Francisco, San Diego, Seattle, Dallas, Washington, D.C., Nashville, and Atlanta. Someone even inquired from Hawaii.
Hawaii? I'm sorry, we love our community, but you want to move from Hawaii? And she was like, the cost of living is outrageous.
Metro areas like the Shoals see an opportunity to stimulate their economies. Now that people are working remotely in record numbers and can more or less choose where they want to live. That's why I'm working here at the beach in California right now, while my office in Midtown Manhattan is closed. While estimates vary, a Stanford study from June 2020 finds that about 42% of U.S. workers are now working from home full-time. That's a norm expected to continue past the pandemic. As a result, fewer people are choosing to live in expensive coastal cities in favor of more space and a higher standard of living in more affordable places.
Cities are getting crushed. Nobody wants to be in New York or San Francisco or Chicago or whatever. It's too expensive.
The cities people are leaving in greatest numbers are New York City, San Francisco, and Los Angeles.
So why did people want to live in the city before? And they wanted bars and restaurants and museums and shopping, but none of that is possible right now. And so why would you stay? Everyone's coming to the same conclusion.
This has led to the rise of what some call Zoom towns, housing markets that are booming as remote work takes off. And now, some cities that have flown under the radar are looking to create their own Zoom towns, using monetary incentives as one catalyst. Paying people to move gets media attention and makes it easier for people to imagine moving somewhere they otherwise may not have considered.
I'm not sure if I would have even come across the program or come across the area if the program didn't exist.
Topeka, Kansas, launched its program in August to introduce itself to America. The city is offering up to $10,000 to qualified remote workers who relocate and purchase a home in Topeka, or $5,000 to those who rent.
Because of the pandemic and because of the rise in remote work, we realize this is an opportunity we need to capitalize on because people are going to vote with their feet where they want to live. A lot of people don't understand what Kansas has to offer people and what Topeka has to offer people, and so we want to be able to introduce the community to the nation.
Why would anyone from New York and California want to move to somewhere where many people on the coasts might consider the middle of nowhere?
There is a quality of life here which is second to none. When you're talking what would probably be considered a mansion in New York City or Los Angeles, I mean, you're looking at homes that are $300,000 and you're getting 5,000 square feet on a lake.
Cost of living is one piece, but there's also culture. Places like the Shoals and Topeka want to challenge perceptions of what it's like to live in the South and the Midwest. Ross says someone who inquired from California was anxious about moving to a red state, following a racist experience she had in Idaho. He says Topeka decided in 2020 to be a boldly anti-racist city.
We want people to understand we're a very inclusive and welcoming community, that we thrive on diversity here. We really want to let people know, especially I would say millennials and then now the new Gen Z demographic, that there's more to the Midwest than meets the eye.
One Midwestern town that has drawn a number of Californians and New Yorkers is Tulsa, Oklahoma. In 2020, Tulsa is doubling down on its existing remote work program. Tulsa Remote is offering spots to 250 more qualified remote workers, up from 70 in the first year. Those workers receive $10,000 in cash and a one-year membership at a co-working space. Savannah, Georgia also launched an incentive program in June, offering up to $2,000 to qualified technology workers who move to Savannah. Traditionally, cities have competed to attract businesses. Case in point, the bidding war for Amazon's second headquarters in 2017. Ross foresees more cities competing to attract workers rather than companies.
And I do think you're going to see a real economic development race around the country as people begin to recognize that talent is almost more powerful than companies. Well, we don't need an Amazon headquarters now. We just need 100 of their workers to potentially choose us.
Choose Topeka is reviewing applications and interviewing participants. But according to Remote Shoals, the program's first 10 participants, some of whom came with families, brought $1 million in income into the community. Experts say this trend could help even the economic playing field in America.
There's so much income and so much growth that's gone to the central cities, and rural America's honestly been left behind. And the movement of well-educated, well-paid college graduates back into rural and suburban areas is going to really help kind of flatten that landscape.
While narrowing the gap between geographic regions, the rise of remote work could exacerbate inequality between people. Those able to work remotely during the pandemic tend to be higher earning with greater job security.
And then on top of that, post-pandemic, you're giving them a very valuable perk.
A perk that entails living where you please, and possibly even an extra $10,000.